Welcome back to Crypto Global News. In this episode of the show, I interviewed Mr. Panos Pavlakis, who is the Senior Vice President over at Rapidz. Now, Rapidz is a decentralized payment gateway designed to make payments simple, fast, and hassle-free. We will talk about that and so much more in this two-part sit-down with Mr. Panos. Enjoy the show. Hey guys, Edward here from Crypto Global News, and I'm having dinner with Panos from Rapidz. Panos, welcome to the program. It's good to meet you, buddy.
Thank you.
Cool.
Nice to meet you. Yeah.
So we got a big feast, which I'm really excited about.
Oh, for both of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So yeah, I've got some questions about you and sort of what you're about, and very much about Rapidz, your project. I just want to start off with some personal stuff. So on your Twitter profile, it says, know your past, and it lists all these interesting places: Sparta, Shanghai, Southeast Asia. So can you just sort of tell me about that, like your interesting history? So.
Yeah, of course. I mean, first of all, thank you for having me here, and also I hope you follow me on Twitter, right?
I do follow you on Twitter.
Okay, that's good then. I think it's pretty simple. I mean, I just had my birthday the other day. I just became 42, right? And I realized that I spend more time abroad than back to my home country. So then I just put all these cities. Basically, these are the cities that I lived. So it's not only I visit as a tourist, I live there, right? So the easy meaning for that would be like, no matter how far you live, because obviously I'm from Greece, I live in Hong Kong, I live in Shanghai, so it's far away. Still, you need to remember your home country.
Sure.
So that's the logistics part. But the real meaning for me is that no matter how high you go, whatever you do in your life, I mean, hopefully you will be successful, right? I'm trying hard, one day. Still, always you need to remember your past. So always you remember where you come from, because if you don't remember that, then the future is not gonna look that bright. Because even short term, you can be successful, you can have something very good, but if you don't remember, your neighborhood, where you're coming from, your experience from your childhood, you will never be successful on long term. So that's one of the meanings.
I agree with that. Yeah, excellent. So, I mean, you sort of answered the other thing I was going to ask you about, I think, a little bit. But all that travel and all that work and travel, how has that sort of shaped your worldview? Because you've got footprints everywhere, in Europe and the East and the Southeast and everywhere.
I think that's. I always say that's like a privilege for me, because. To be honest, all these years when I travel and I work on this place, I never realized the kind of experience you get. So obviously, apart from your working experience, you make some money, you do this and that, which is pretty much for everybody. But at some point, you realize that you get this kind of views of things that you see. So that's I think one of the most valuable assets you can have, and that you cannot sell it. You have it. Right, it's like an intangible asset, right? But it's something that is good, and I see that every time I go back to Greece to see my classmates and everybody, or I go back to UK and we try to discuss some things. Always I look like, let's say, the crazy one or the weird one. Maybe because my view is more global now, only because I lived on these places. I'm not saying that I'm more clever or anything. I'm just different. I'm different.
Than the average
and this is what a friend of mine was saying, that everybody, we say about things like common sense things, right? There is a benchmark of common sense. But this common sense, if you live in one country only, it's a different kind of common sense you have with someone who lived abroad and work abroad. Because the other thing also is that many people, they visit many places as a tourist, but they don't really live there. Because for me, the key point is you live there. So you experience stuff with the locals. Like once in Rome, do like Romans, right? So when you do that, then you see the different things. And that's very helpful.
Cool, no worries.
Where does your love of soccer or football come from? Is that like from when you were a kid, or just your time in Britain, or where does that come from?
I mean, Greece, when it comes to not only football, but also sports, we are quite strong on many things. Even we're like 10 million people there, and there are like 10 million people abroad, right? But still, sports is something kind of our DNA. So, I mean, obviously football, for me, it's the most popular sports in the world. for the very simple reason that it doesn't matter if you are good looking, tall, short, slim, you still can be successful there, right? There are so many examples of players that they don't really need to be like a big guys like an NBA basketball, right?
Yeah, you don't have to be 6'7".
Yeah, I mean, look, Lionel Messi, right?
Yeah.
Or before Maradona, right? He was, you know, even people they will call him nowadays they will call him chubby, right? Because, but this guy was a genius, right? So Greece sports. Talking about sports, we love sports. Football, obviously, we like football even more. Obviously, 2004, we had this big success with the Euro. Nobody realized that, even myself, you know, that we won the European Cup. So always football was in the blood. Although, to be honest, I never liked to play football for the main reason that I was rubbish. So I knew I was crap.
Yeah.
So I mean, every time I play, mainly was goalkeeper, just to be there.
Yeah.
My sport was basketball.
Okay.
Basketball is huge in Greece because we won quite a lot of European Cups, and also we are the only, one of the few teams that we beat the
Did you play
NBA.
basketball?
Yeah, and also basketball. I think it's not to that extent, but quite similar to U.S. colleges. So if you're in the if you're in the school, you're kind of more popular if you are on the team of the school playing basketball, right? So I play quite a lot of basketball.
So it was just about getting the girls then, is that what it's about? It's okay, you can admit it.
Yeah, I mean, there are many ways to do that. But back then, with no money, I think you had to do something else, right?
No, I don't knock the hustle.
So, no, I mean, but basketball is quite big for us. I mean, I think also structure-wise, for Greeks, basketball, it fits us more.
And does all that, because like you're a big sports guy, basketball, soccer, all that, does that made you sort of the competitive person you are in business? Is that?
For me, I always say that for any parents, if they want their kids to become competitive, they have to get into the sports.
Yeah.
Because when you're a kid and sometimes these days, because I live in Hong Kong, right? Okay, it's a big city, small houses, small flats, right? So people, they spend time there, right, on the flats. So I'm sad actually to see kids play with the iPads and iPhones and everything and don't go out, because with the sports, first you get socialized, right, from the very early age. Second, you feel part of a team. So from the age of 6, 7, 8, you know that you know the word teamwork.
Yes.
So you get into socialization and teamwork, and you know that at the end of the day it's about win. I know, I mean, everybody says, especially the kids, don't worry, unlucky, keep trying. Of course, keep trying, right? But when it comes to that subject, maybe I'm a little bit cynical, but I like what the Americans, they say, that the first is first, the second is nothing.
Yeah.
So I'm a fan of this thing, right? Yeah. It doesn't mean that you say negative things for people that they don't.
Sure,
they
it doesn't mean you're a bad person.
But keep it for yourself, right? Always think about it. So I think sports is actually the easiest way to get into this kind of mentality. And this will show later in your life, right? So things you learn back then, because you cannot play basketball forever, right?
Well, you never know.
I mean, unless you're
just being silly. Yeah.
But just get into this kind of sports DNA, competitive, mode.
You should try the calamari. It's really good. Yeah, and you got this crazy hot sauce.
Is it good like in Greece? I don't know.
I don't know, but you can handle that heat better than I can. But it's really good. So
that's spicy.
Excellent. So, because you've done a lot of work in Europe and all that, and Britain, which part of Europe, and now Asia.
Almost,
Well, yeah. I mean, to me, it's the same thing, but they don't think it is in England. What's been the main difference, business-wise, and all that kind of stuff, in sort of working in Asia generally and Europe generally?
I mean, back in Europe, to be honest, I work only in London. I mean, many years, right? Which,
I 12 years there or something?
Yeah, in total, because I did my studies as well. So, I mean, in total was 2 degrees, Bloomberg, and the football position as well. So, 11, 12 years. Which is, for me, is the easiest, one of the easiest cities to work, London. Sure. Obviously, the language as well, right?
Yeah.
And it's more like a metropolitan. Sometimes you feel London is like a city, like a metropolis, right? It's like a different part.
Yeah, and sort of has people from all over. And
which is good. So I really like that. I mean, I enjoy that, and that's one of the best things I did, to have my degrees and my first job in London. That was amazing. But coming back to your question, I mean, normally we say, especially because I'm Greek, right? So Greek, we have this kind of, let's say, the impression that we like to relax a lot sometimes, right? And take long breaks. I mean, not anymore, right? Yeah. Unfortunately, probably they realize they came with the reality, right? Nowadays. But for me, to be honest, when I came to Hong Kong, it was like, of course, at the beginning, it's a different lifestyle. It's work. I mean, it was times that weekends, your boss will call you and say, look, we have a project coming in. You have to, just take the next plane and go to China. And these kind of things that, I mean, back to Europe, possibly, you call someone to do that, nobody will pick up the phone because they think it's, why should I pick up the phone? I'm on my holiday, or I'm on my day off, or it's a weekend. But in Hong Kong, it's no, you have to. Which for me, at the end, I like that.
Yeah.
Maybe because I'm still on this age that we have to work, right? If you don't work now, when are you gonna work, right?
Yeah.
So for us, that's our peak, right?
Well, I think also because now, then you're probably working for a boss. Now you're an entrepreneur. You're trying to build a brand and everything. So longer hours and all that.
It's more hard now.
Yeah.
But to go to the other side, so working from a boss and go to the other side, you definitely need to have this mindset. Yeah. Because if you are a classic guy of 9 to, you remember before it used to be 9 to 5, right? Unbelievable, Now it's like 8 to 6 or 8 to 7, right? But if you have this mentality, I go there, the moment I finish, I get out of the office, I just put nothing else to do. Yeah. You cannot be successful when you try to do your own thing, right?
Yeah.
Quite a guy. That concludes part 1 of my 2-part interview with Panos. Part 2 will be coming out very soon, so please make sure you hit the subscribe and notifications button so you don't miss an episode. For Crypto Global News, I'm Edward. Until next time, you take it easy.